The millionaire on his deathbed is shocked by the unexpected revelation of a black beggar. Everyone knew Otto Bennett as the man who had it all. Countless mansions, sleek cars, piles of money that could sink a ship. But nobody ever saw the real weight pressing down on him, like chains around his chest. Until the day the old chapel's roof crashed down, burying him beneath centuries of stone and wood, like he was nothing but dust. The air was thick, dust choking, the sharp scent of something old and forgotten. Otto's body was pinned, crushed under splinters, his breath shallow and ragged. Panic curled in his throat, heart hammering like a warning drum. Darkness was closing in, time slipping through trembling fingers. Then, out of the silence, a voice cracked through the gloom. Not a shout, barely a whisper. A boy appeared, a shadow in tattered clothes, eyes sharp and wild, skin dark like midnight. No one would have guessed he'd be the answer to a trapped millionaire's prayers. The boy crouched by Otto's side, offering something gleaming, a watch, old-fashioned, heavy in the hand, its face catching the faint light like it held the secrets of 1,000 sunsets. "Your time isn't up yet," the boy said, voice low but clear, carrying a weight that made Otto's chest tighten, not from fear, but from a strange hope. The watch ticked against his cracked ribs, a pulse in the quiet. Otto blinked hard, swallowing the lump, rising in his throat. Then, as if the world itself tilted, rescue crews burst through, tearing away the rubble. Sunlight flooded in, searing bright after the cold dark. Otto was pulled free, coughing and gasping, still clutching the watch. His first breath of freedom tasted like mercy. Weeks later, in a sterile hospital room, tubes and monitors humming life into his frail body, Otto woke to relief, flooding him like a flood tide. But then came the dread, the gnawing question that clawed at his mind. Where was the boy, that ghostly figure named Matthew, who vanished as mysteriously as he appeared? Otto tried to find him, asking around, sniffing for any trace in the gritty streets and back alleys, where beggars and lost souls wandered. Nobody knew a boy like Matthew. He was a phantom, a whisper, a question mark, haunting the edges of the city. Then, in that blur of searching and wondering, Otto met Clara. A girl with no words, but with hands that painted pain and hope in charcoal and color. Her drawings shouted silence, empty homes, broken children, aching loneliness wrapped in shadows. Each sketch burned into Otto's heart, stirring something long sealed beneath his wealth and walls. Looking at Clara's art, something inside Otto cracked. Guilt, sharp and raw, spilled out like a flood. The cold truth of neglect, hunger, broken promises, slammed into him like a punch. The fortune that once weighed him down, now squeezed, begging for change. From that raw place grew a fierce resolve. Otto would build something real, the Aurora House, a sanctuary where children like Clara and Matthew could breathe, be heard, be held. A place not gilded in gold, but rich in listening and care. Yet, even as he poured himself into this new battle, Matthew appeared again, watching, protecting the lost kids like a silent guardian. Otto felt the gnawing tug of shadows he'd buried, fears and failures prowling just out of sight. And then came the twist. A secret hidden deep in Otto's past, spinning everything upside down. A truth that made him freeze, maybe even step back. Was redemption enough? Or was he chasing ghosts he couldn't outrun? One question burned brightest, sharper than any pain. Who was Matthew really? And why did it feel like their fates were already tangled, threads pulled tight before either of them even knew? The answers hung in the air like smoke, thick and elusive. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. A lot of subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without warning. Just take a quick look at that red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any of the exclusive content coming your way. And while you're here, hit that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Days passed, and the foundation of the Aurora house rose proudly, its walls a testament to Otto's newfound purpose. Kids ran in and out, laughter shaping the corners of space once filled with nothing. Otto felt a glow deepen inside him, a warmth he hadn't known in years. But still, shadows lingered. One afternoon, painted skies loomed over the city, the late sun casting long shadows. Clara, with charcoal smudged across her face, came rushing in. Her eyes sparked with urgency, hands trembling. "Mr. Bennett," she exclaimed, "you have to see this." Otto blinked, taken aback, as he followed her outside. A crowd had gathered, voices buzzing like angry bees. Concern pricked at Otto's heart. He squeezed through the throng, Clara close behind. Then he saw it. Matthew. The boy was standing in the middle of the street, face pale like a sheet, looking lost. Otto's breath caught. It was the first time he had seen him since that fateful day. But something was off. Matthew's wild eyes scanned the faces, flitting like a bird trapped in a cage. "Matthew!" Otto shouted, but the boy didn't seem to hear him. He took a step closer, desperate to bridge the distance, to pull the boy back into the warmth of those walls. "Get away from him!" A voice cut through the din, sharp as glass. Otto turned to see a woman emerging from the crowd. Her hair was unkempt, clothes tattered and torn. But it was her eyes, fierce, burning, that locked onto Matthew like a hawk zeroing in on prey. "Why are you out here?" she yelled, stepping forward, hands clenched into fists. "Mom!" Matthew cried, his voice breaking. The crowd gasped, and a wave of murmurs rippled through. Otto's heart sank. He felt a wrongness, a heavy weight settling in his stomach. "Stay away!" she shrieked, panic lacing her tone. "You don't have any right to him." "Wait," Otto interjected, moving closer still. "What's happening? He's safe here." The woman shot him a glare like daggers. "Safe? In a place filled with lies?" Matthew's gaze darted between them, fear cracking through his bravado. "Please don't." "Don't what?" she hissed. "You're not a part of this life, and I won't let you be pulled back in. Do you understand?" Otto's mind raced. He felt the air grow thick and heavy. Who was this woman, and why was Matthew so afraid? "I'm trying to help," Otto replied, trying to sound calm, even as chaos swirled around him. "We've built a home here, a safe place for kids." "Your home means nothing," the woman spat, her voice echoing across the crowd. "You think you can save him because you gave him things? You don't know his truth." That struck Otto hard. Truth? What truth? Then Matthew spoke, voice shaky yet strong. Those things don't matter. You don't know what I've lost. Sudden silence fell, a stillness so deep it felt wrong. What do you mean? Otto breathed, searching Matthew's face for answers. Mom, please, Matthew whispered, tears brimming. The crowd held its breath, and then the woman spoke again, and her words shattered everything Otto thought he knew. They're looking for him, you know, the ones who took him from me. A collective gasp whispered through the crowd. Who? Otto breathlessly asked, and everything began to twist. Suddenly, Matthew's face shifted, fear morphing into courage, a truth breaking free. That's why I was there that day. The day the roof fell. I was hiding. I was running. Otto felt his world tilt. How much had he misunderstood? The shadows weren't just the past. They were still hunting Matthew. The boy was entangled in a mystery darker than Otto ever anticipated. In that moment, everything felt like smoke and ash, questions swirling around. What had Matthew run from? And more haunting, who truly was the boy that seemed to keep returning to save Otto? Silence hung like a fog, thick and suffocating, as answers danced just out of reach. Matthew's voice hung in the air, fragile as glass. Otto's heart drummed, pulse racing, as the crowd held its breath. The truth trembled on the edge of revelation. What do you mean? Otto pressed, fear tangling with hope. Mom, please. Matthew's plea shattered the stillness, desperation coating his words like winter frost. The woman stepped closer, eyes blazing with a mix of fury and fear. Otto felt the weight of countless eyes watching them, breaths caught in suspenseful anticipation. Her voice cracked. They're looking for him. His past is their business, and it's dangerous. The crowd erupted, whispers filling the space like a rising tide. But then, as if caught in a whirlpool of voices and gasps, a police siren wailed in the distance, cutting through the murmurs. Eyes turned, the woman's face paled, realization flickering in her gaze. They're already here, she cried, panic spilling over. Otto's stomach clenched. Who were they? What were they after? Matthew, we have to get out of here. She rushed towards him, arms reaching, desperation etched into every line of her face. No, this is my home. Matthew stood firm, defiance radiating from him. Otto's heart twisted, seeing that fiery spirit. If you care at all, Mom, you'll let me stay. But she didn't stop. With an urgency that startled Otto, she lunged, grabbing Matthew's arm. An electric jolt passed through the air, the clench of unyielding love, twisted with fear. In that moment, a loud crash shattered the tension. A dark figure emerged from behind the crowd, tall and imposing. Dressed in black, a hood pulled low over their face. Otto's heart sank. Something was off. He felt the winds of fate shift, an uneasy dread brewing. In the gut. The figure pointed, voice icy and cold, echoing against the well-established fabric of Otto's world. Step away from him. Matthew's eyes widened, fear flooding his features. No, please! Before Otto could step forward, the woman yanked Matthew toward her, pulling him away. But in the rush of movement, something slipped from her pocket. A small photograph, fluttering like a fallen leaf. It landed at Otto's feet. Instinctively, he bent down, scooping it up. Otto's heart jolted as he took in the image. A family portrait. And there, staring back at him with wide eyes, was a younger version of Matthew. Beside him stood a boy who looked strikingly similar, their features nearly identical. Otto's breath hitched. What the? The wind shifted. The crowd's murmurs crescendoed into a roar. Otto looked up, eyes darting from the photo to the woman and back to Matthew. The connection was undeniable, a thread tying all of them together. "Look, it's not safe," the woman urged, voice trembling. "We need to go." "No," Matthew shouted, voice rising. "You're leaving me behind again." Panic surged, confusion choking Otto's thoughts. Why did Matthew refuse to leave with her? What was the truth hidden beneath the surface of their entwined lives? The dark figure advanced, casting a long shadow over the scene. "Enough. He belongs with us," they commanded, voice chilling in its calmness. "Us?" Otto echoed, eyes narrowing. "What have you done?" The woman's voice cracked, despair clawing through. "She was never supposed to find you." The figure's words sliced through the crowd's static. Tears of fate weaving a tangled web of secrets. The crowd gasped collectively. Heart pounding, Otto's thoughts churned. Who was lying? What was real? The photograph burned in his hand, but the truth slipped further away with every heartbeat. "Matthew," Otto whispered, standing on the precipice of chaos. Just then, a loud explosion erupted nearby, flames shooting into the sky. The ground shook, knocking people off balance. Chaos erupted. The crowd screamed, running in every direction. But Otto stood frozen, the photograph's familiar faces echoing in his mind. Matthew's eyes, panic-stricken, locked onto Otto's. "You have to help me." And all at once, the world tilted sideways again. Otto's heart raced with fear and confusion as everything he'd built crumbled under the weight of devastating secrets. Who was Matthew really? And what were they all running from? In that moment, he realized all threads of the past were pulling taut, ready to snap. No more running, no more hiding. Everything was about to change. The flames erupted like a breath of hell, smoke curling around the crowd in thick tendrils, masking the terror etched on faces. Otto felt the heat wash over him as panic erupted like a storm. "Get back!" he shouted, trying to protect Clara, who stood rooted beside him, eyes wide and afraid. The dark figure pushed forward. "Step away from him," they commanded again, voice sharp and cutting through the chaos. Matthew broke free from his mother's grip, grounding himself, defiance shimmering in his eyes. "Leave him alone," Matthew cried, and Otto's heart ached at the fear lacing his voice. But then, in that terrifying instant of confusion, the world shifted. An explosion rocked the street, not from the fire, but from the crowd surging backward. A young girl screamed, her voice lost in the cacophony, people scrambling like ants in a disturbed nest. Amid the chaos, Otto's gaze caught the photograph he'd dropped earlier as he stumbled back. It slipped from his fingers, fluttering like a leaf in the wind, before landing at Matthew's feet. "Look!" Otto shouted, but as Matthew bent down to pick it up, the dark figure lunged forward, arms outstretched, and reached for him. "Matthew, no!" Otto cried, but it was too late. In a blur of movement, the figure wrapped an arm around the boy's waist and pulled him close. "Let's go," they shouted, trying to rush him into the street, panic etched across their hid face. But in that final moment of desperation, Matthew turned, his expression shifting from fear to something deeper. "Wait!" he yelled. "There's something you need to know." All eyes turned toward him, including Otto's, hearts halting for a heartbeat. "What?" the figure demanded, struggling to hold tightly onto the squirming boy. "Do you really want to take me away?" Matthew's voice rang out clear as a bell, cutting through the fear, leaving everyone breathless. "Do you want what you think you want?" The crowd fell silent, the air thick with tension. In that stillness, Matthew began to speak, words pouring from him like a burst dam. "I'm not who you think I am. None of us are." Otto's pulse quickened. "What do you mean?" Matthew took a deep breath, as if summoning courage from the very earth beneath him. "I wasn't just hiding that day. I was running from you, every one of you." Gasps erupted from the crowd. "From what I can be," he continued, and Otto's mind raced, confusion mingling with fear. The dark figure sneered, shaking their head. "Stop!" But Matthew pushed, on every word a shift in reality. "There's a reason they want me back. They think I'm a key to something bigger, to power, to change." He glanced at the woman, who looked torn between fury and disbelief. "What are you talking about?" she shouted at him, eyes wide. "They want to control me," Matthew insisted, "for what I can do." Otto's body went cold. What could this boy really do? "What do you mean?" he whispered, voice barely audible, each breath feeling heavy as lead. Matthew's gaze pierced through Otto like a blade. "I'm not just a boy, Mr. Bennett. I'm part of a legacy that goes beyond us, beyond anything you know." Suddenly, the air shifted again. The dark figure pulled Matthew closer, a fierce determination in their stance. "We need to go, now." And just like that, revelatory shock struck the heart of the crowd. The truth hung thick in the air, overpowering the simmering chaos. Matthew's words rattled inside Otto's mind, spinning threads of confusion deeper than any he ever faced. He stepped forward, voice trembling. "What did you just say?" But before Matthew could respond, the dark figure yanked him away, melding into the retreating mass of people, shadows merging into the fading light. Otto felt the ground dropping beneath him. "Matthew!" he screamed. But the boy was gone, swallowed by the throng. The whispers clouded Otto's mind, questions whirring like bees. What just happened? Who was Matthew, really? What legacy? As flames flickered and the crowd began to disperse, fear nestling in his heart, Otto realized he hadn't just lost Matthew. He had lost the very foundations of the world he thought he knew. The silence that followed the chaos weighed heavier than the noise, leaving Otto alone with the specter of the shocking revelation echoing in his mind. Everything was different now. A storm was brewing, and he was caught right in its eye. Otto stood in the thickening smoke, heart racing, hands trembling. The crowd was a blur, faces twisted with confusion. He glanced at the spot where Matthew had just been, now empty. The only trace of the boy was the photograph fluttering in the wind, like a ghost lost to time. Desperation clawed at him. Where did he go? Who was that dark figure? The questions danced around him, intoxicating and suffocating all at once. Then he heard it, a soft, breathy voice rising above the chaos. "Help me." Otto's heart seized. It was faint, but clear. He turned toward the source, forcing his way through the dwindling crowd. They were all rushing to flee the flames, voices merging into an angry hum. But Otto felt compelled, instincts pulling him forward. And then he saw her, a girl, crumpled on the ground, hair matted with ash and dirt, staring wide-eyed. They took him. "Who?" Otto asked, kneeling beside her. "Who took him?" "Them. Everyone." Her voice broke, panic spilling like water from a shattered jar. "They want him back." "It's okay. You're safe." Otto tried to keep his voice steady, even as his pulse thundered in his ears. "No, you don't understand," she cried, frantic. "He's not just some boy, he's a key." The words struck Otto like a lightning bolt. "A key to what?" "Everything. The home, the truth, the power." Her eyes darted, fear radiating from her. "He can change everything, but they want him for themselves." A chill swept through Otto, a frigid understanding creeping into his mind. Change what? What's happening? But before she could answer, a shadow fell over them. The dark figure that had taken Matthew was back, towering above. "You shouldn't be here," they growled, menace dripping from every word. Otto shot to his feet, instincts kicking in. "What do you want with him?" The figure lifted a hand, voice dripping with contempt. "Move aside, old man. This doesn't concern you." "Old man?" Anger surged through Otto, tightening his fists. "You're not taking him. You don't own him." Just then, a flash of movement caught Otto's eye. Clara, charcoal-streaked and shaky, rushed forward, eyes locked on Matthew's attacker. "You'll never hurt him again." But as she shouted, the ground shook violently beneath them. Otto stumbled, losing his balance. A deafening roar erupted, drowning out the chaos of the crowd. A fissure split the street, cracking wide, like a mouth ready to swallow them whole. Screams erupted, panic spilling into every corner. "Get back!" Otto shouted, grabbing Clara's hand, trying to pull her away from the yawning maw. The dark figure fixed its piercing gaze on Matthew's mother, who had regained her footing, moving closer. "No!" she screamed, her voice shattering the air. "Matthew!" Then, as if time slowed, everything shifted. Matthew appeared from the other side of the fissure, face pale, but eyes steely. He stood strong against the chaos, and the crowd fell silent. "Enough!" he shouted, and his voice pierced through the turmoil. In that moment, heat flooded Otto's chest. The boy was more than he appeared. The reality struck him like a thunderclap. Matthew wasn't just a victim. He was part of something far larger than himself. The shadows began moving around Matthew, swirling like smoke, drawing everyone's eyes to him. The dark figure finally spoke, voice grave. "You can't control it, Oi. You're not ready." "Ready or not, I'll do what I must," Matthew declared fiercely. And Otto felt the ground tremble beneath the weight of those words. Then it happened. A blinding light erupted from Matthew, encompassing everything. Flames, fears, and the world itself. Otto stumbled back, eyes wide as a force blew through them, and everything shifted. The shockwave hit, and silence enveloped him like a blanket. The smoke cleared. The crowd was gone. The street lay empty, and staring back at him was a house. But not just any house. Aurora House stood tall, shining and glowing, as if it had just been built from the very essence of hope. Otto's breath hitched in his throat. Confusion blurred his thoughts. What just happened? Matthew stood before him, trembling yet resolute, and Otto felt a rush of words dying on his tongue, strangled by disbelief. But then the house crackled, vibrant energies swirling around him. "Things are changing," Matthew spoke, almost a whisper. "And you have to trust me." Trust? Otto's heart raced, questions raging. What kind of power lives inside a boy? And had he helped create this? Nothing felt certain anymore. The girl on the ground, Matthew's mother, the dark figure, were they all part of this world? The air crackled with a new energy, a possibility that sent shivers down Otto's spine. In that stunned silence, all he felt was a deepening sense of dread, mixed with an unfamiliar spark of hope. Life as it was gone, unraveled like a thread. What did it mean? How were they intertwined? And as the new reality stood before him, he couldn't shake the question, who was Matthew truly? The air crackled with energy, heavy with anticipation. Matthew stood before them, outlined by an otherworldly glow. Otto felt tingles skitter down his spine, a mix of dread and wonder. Clara clung to his arm, wide-eyed, the same awe mirrored on her face. It felt like the world held its collective breath. Then, just as Otto opened his mouth to speak, the ground shuddered beneath his feet again, and a figure emerged from the smoke, much larger than before. It was another dark figure, bulky and menacing, appearing from nowhere, eyes glinting like knives, poised to cut through the atmosphere. Clara shivered at the sight, fear flashing across her features. "Matthew!" the newcomer roared, voice a low rumble that seemed to shake the very earth around them. "You don't know what you're doing!" Matthew opened his mouth to respond, but before he could get a word out, screams echoed through the air. The dark figure lunged forward, reaching out with a gloved hand. Otto's heart raced. "No!" he shouted, as if he could somehow disrupt the unfolding chaos. But it happened too fast. The newcomer grabbed Matthew, yanking him away from the glow that surrounded him. Otto's chest felt like it was being crushed under an invisible weight. "No! Let him go!" he cried, but the words were lost. In an instant, the energy in the air shifted. Matthew flared with a fierce light, his voice ringing out, "You don't understand. This is my choice." But even as he spoke, the grip of the dark figure tightened. Then, without warning, there was a blinding flash. A shockwave blasted through the street, knocking Otto off his feet. Everything blurred, colors swirling together. Then silence fell, eerie and complete. Otto scrambled back up, dazed, finding Clara beside him, her hand gripping his tight. They exchanged bewildered glances. As the dust settled, everyone remained frozen, except for one thing. Matthew. He stood alone now, but something was different, something extraordinary. Otto's heart dropped. Matthew's features began to shift, melting like wax. His form loomed, changing shape until it became unrecognizable. "No," Otto breathed, dread pooling in the pit of his stomach. A crowd began to gather again, murmurs rising like smoke. "What happened to him?" someone whispered. Then the impossible happened. The shifting form morphed into something larger, a figure cloaked in gold light, a woman emerging. Vision from a dream with piercing eyes that glowed with ancient wisdom. Matthew's mother stepped forward, shock painted across her face, her expression shifting to understanding. "It's you," she gasped, eyes wide. "The one we lost." "Mom?" Matthew's voice returned, but it was deeper, layered. He stepped forward, meeting her gaze. "I've been looking for you." Stunned silence wrapped around everyone. Otto's mind raced, trying to understand. Had Matthew always known? Was he not just a boy, but something much more? As the realization sank in, a low rumble echoed from deep within the earth. The ground trembled again, shaking with a ferocity that made Otto's heart leap into his throat. "Matthew!" Otto shouted, voice breaking. But the boy, or whatever it was, stood still, eyes locked with his mother. And then it hit Otto, like a punch to the gut. This was more than just a family reunion. It was a catastrophe in the making. The truth had always lingered, buried beneath surface secrets and lies. The ties didn't just bind them to their past. They connected them to the forces that sought them, that wanted to control that power Matthew had inside. With that, the dark figure erupted back into motion, voice slicing through the air. "You can't escape your fate." The atmosphere shifted, thick with tension, uncertainty. Otto felt the world teetering on the brink, questions flooding his mind. Who was Matthew truly? What did this mean for all of them? And as the gold light flickered, revealing the fraying edges of reality, Otto's breath caught. There was no escape, no safe haven now. The battle was just beginning, echoing beyond the flames, beyond the noise. The choices made now would shape their fates forever. The murmur of the crowd faded into another haunting silence, leaving Otto gripping the weight of impending doom and the burning need for answers that threatened to consume him. Would they ever find a way out? The silence hung heavy, pressing against Otto like a weight he couldn't shake. Matthew stood there, enveloped in golden light. His mother's eyes, wide with a mix of fear and recognition. But everything felt shaky, as if the ground beneath them could give way at any moment. Clara clutched Otto's arm, her breathing shallow, both of them frozen in the moment. Suddenly, the dark figure moved, eyes narrowing. "You don't need to do this, Matthew," they barked, stepping into the light. The tension was palpable, a coiled spring ready to snap. "You're not ready for what they want from you." Matthew's eyes sparked with determination, but uncertainty flickered there too. "I have to know the truth," he shouted, voice echoing in the stillness. "I have to decide for myself." Just then, everything crashed and careened out of control. The earth shook harder, a loud boom rumbling like thunder. Otto felt it in his bones, fear twisting in his gut. And then, without warning, the ground beneath Matthew gave way. A fissure appeared, swallowing the space where he stood. "No!" Otto shouted, reaching out. But it was too late. Matthew tumbled into the darkness, screaming as he fell. The bright glow dimmed and flickered out like a candle snuffed by the wind. The crowd gasped, shock rippling through them like a wave. Panic gripped Otto. He could barely think. "Where did he go?" he whispered, dread pooling in his chest. Clara was wide-eyed, her horror mirroring his own. "Matthew!" His voice cracked, a desperate plea swallowed by the chaos erupting around them. The dark figure stood rooted, expression a mask of turmoil. "Fool," they murmured, fists clenching. "You don't understand the danger." But before anyone could react, a blinding light burst from the fissure. It spread out, luminescent and powerful, illuminating the terrified faces and flickering, like a beacon in the dark. Otto shielded his eyes, heart racing. What was happening? Then the voice emerged from the light, resonant and commanding. "You think you control me?" it echoed, shifting, changing with each word until it didn't sound like Matthew anymore. It was deeper, more profound. "You have no idea what you've unleashed." The crowd shrank back, fear written on every face. The golden light expanded, flooding reality with brilliance. Otto felt a rush against his skin, like being drenched in warmth, yet icy fear gripped his heart. And then, the shock hit. The light coalesced into a figure, a woman, radiant and otherworldly. She stepped out from the brilliance, her face strikingly familiar. Otto's breath caught. It was Matthew, but not the boy he knew. "Matthew," his mother gasped, eyes wide with horror. "What have you done?" The new figure, the essence of power and something unimaginable, glared. "You abandoned me." The accusation echoed around them, raw and filled with pain. Gasps erupted as the crowd stumbled back, pure shock etched into their features. Otto could feel their collective disbelief, eyes darting from the radiant figure to Matthew's mother. "She was never supposed to find you." The dark figure hissed, but the woman only shook her head, sorrow etched deep into her lines. "You're not Matthew. You're something else," she cried, voice breaking, a mother's heart laid bare. The radiant figure laughed, but it wasn't joyful. It was filled with bitterness. "I am who I was always meant to be, the legacy you wanted to hide." Otto stumbled back, heart pounding. Confusion and fear twisted in his chest. What legacy? What truth had they buried? As he stood there, the ground shifting beneath their feet, the world felt like it was fracturing around him. It wasn't just secrets unraveling. This was something far more monstrous. The fissure grew wider, and the sound of chaos faded into a haunting silence again. Otto's mind whirled, every question spiraling out of control. Who were they really? Where had Matthew gone? What had he become? Everything hung in the balance, the glow of truth shining bright, yet cloaked in shadow. And in that moment, Otto realized with a chilling clarity that nothing would ever be the same. The unraveling had begun, and he had to know how deep the roots truly went. The silence swallowed them whole as the golden figure loomed, eyes reflecting centuries of pain and power. Otto stood frozen, heart racing, trying to understand what he was witnessing. This was not the boy he had pulled from the ashes. This was something immense and ancient, a force threatening to turn their world upside down. "Matthew?" The word struggled from Otto's lips, a whisper, a plea. The golden figure turned, locks of glowing hair cascading like sunlight, revealing a face that was both familiar and alien. It was Matthew, yes, but it was more. It was like looking into a mirror that showed a twisted version of the past and future all at once. "Mom," the figure said, voice a mixture of warmth and something deeper. "We're here because of you." Gasps erupted from the crowd, confusion painting their faces. Matthew's mother stumbled back, disbelief etching every feature. "What have you become?" she choked, distress flooding her voice. "I've become what I was meant to be," he roared, and the very ground shook. "But you need to make a choice. You can't keep hiding from the truth." Everyone held their breath. Even the air felt charged, crackling with lost dreams and half-formed fears. Clara gripped Otto tighter, each new shift in Matthew's form sending more cold fingers down Otto's spine. And then, as the air thickened with tension, a thick veil of darkness began to unfurl from the back of the dark figure. Shadows slithered like snakes through the throng, vibrant and suffocating. The figure glared, expression unyielding, eyes glinting with something sinister. "You think you can control him?" the figure spat, anger bubbling over. "You think it's all yours?" Suddenly, hands stretched out of the shadows, grasping at the edges of light, like hungry ghosts seeking solace. Otto stepped back, his heart pounding, realizing their intentions were far from benevolent. In one swift motion, the dark figure drew back, revealing a girl entangled in the darkness, her face familiar, yet transformed. Otto squinted, mind racing. "Lily?" The girl's eyes glimmered as she stepped into the light, a flicker familiar. She was Matthew's sister, long thought lost, yet here she was, a ghost from the depths of memory. "Matthew, please," Lily cried, urgency coloring her words. "They are using you. The truth they seek is buried deep." The crowd gasped again, the tension stretched to a breaking point. Lily's face trembled, fear rippling through her voice. "They'll make you a pawn." "No," Matthew roared, shaking off the doubt gripping him. "You're all wrong. This is my choice." And just like that, the ground trembled again, the darkness twisting violently like a cyclone. In a single heartbeat, something massive broke free. The fissure widened, the shadows swallowing everything, threatening to erase the very fabric of their reality. Otto felt dizzy, the truth unraveling faster than he could grasp. What was this legacy? What could Matthew and Lily reveal? Before he could fathom the consequences, a blinding flash erupted, and everything shifted. It was the kind of light that blinded and burned, a white-hot searing through the shadows. Otto stumbled back, shielding his eyes. But as the glow subsided, the horrifying realization struck. Standing before him were not just Matthew and Lily, but an entire line of figures, all radiant, all transformed, their faces flickering like candlelight. "Welcome back, brother," they said in unison, their voices filling the air, sliding through Otto's consciousness. "What?" "That's..." Otto's voice faltered, the ground slipping from beneath him again. The connection crackled through the room, binding them all in a web of relatives lost to time. A family Otto hadn't known had existed. "You've never seen the full picture," Matthew proclaimed, a confidence flooding back. Otto's world tilted violently. Relationships that felt solid began to shatter, revealing shadows and layers he had never considered. And the defining question echoed through the tangled web. Who were they really? And how far did the deception stretch? The glow shimmered, casting strange shadows across the crowd, as the radiant figure held everyone captive. Otto felt a tightness in his chest, a confusion wrapping around him like fog. This wasn't just a reunion. It was something he couldn't grasp. Who was this new Matthew? And what did it mean for him, for Clara, for everyone? And then, in a flash, the shadows behind the dark figure twisted and writhed, coiling like a snake ready to strike. Otto turned to see the faces in the crowd. Confusion, fear, sparks of realization igniting eyes wide as saucers. "Stop!" Matthew, the boy he knew, shouted. "You can't hide from what we are." But even as he spoke, the darkness surged, tendrils reaching out, snaking toward the radiant light, hungry for all it harbored. Something deep in Otto's gut told him this was wrong. Before anyone could react, another voice cut through the rising storm, sharp and cutting. "Enough of this. Pretense." A woman emerged from the crowd, her eyes ablaze, her presence unyielding, the energy palpable. Otto recognized her. It was Claire, the woman who had tried to help him when everything was falling apart. "Matthew," she yelled, stepping forward, "you don't know what you're doing." The tension thickened, suffocating. Matthew turned, the glow flickering as he met her gaze. "You're too late, Claire. I'm done hiding." "No, you don't understand." She paced, her voice trembling. "You're not just a key. You're capable of destruction." With that, the ground trembled again, darkening as the shadows lurched forward, seizing the moment. Otto watched in horror, each heartbeat echoing in his ears. With a sudden crack, the earth split open right at Matthew's feet, the very ground he stood on, falling away. The crowd gasped, fear rippling through them like a wave. Otto felt his heart lurch. "Matthew!" he shouted, reaching out, desperate to pull him back. But then the twist came. Matthew began to glow brighter, brighter, until he was blinding. "If I don't control this, it will consume us all." "Matthew, no!" Claire screamed, horror painted across her face. But her voice was lost in the chaos. Then, in a breathtaking instant, the radiant energy exploded outwards, engulfing everything in its path. Otto felt himself being propelled backward, feet skidding against the ground as he tried to brace himself. And then the shock hit. Where the golden light expanded, a figure emerged from the brilliance, hovering above the chaos. It was a woman. Not just any woman, but a reflection of Matthew. It was unsettling, a living echo, only more terrifying, because she wore his face. "Who are you?" Otto rasped, feeling the air leave his lungs. "I'm your answer, Otto," she declared, voice laced with power that echoed through the darkness. "I am Matthew's true form, the legacy you've all tried to bury." The onlookers stumbled back, panic flooding the atmosphere. Rumors of hidden identities flashed through their eyes, disbelief mingling with dawning horror. "Legacy?" Otto whispered. Everything he thought he had known shattered in an instant. Matthew wasn't just a boy. He was a vessel for something far more potent, something capable of unfathomable destruction. Then the ground shook again, the darkness swirling, reaching toward the new figure. "You can't hold me. I'm not just a weapon. You need to understand." The revelation sank deep, and Otto staggered back, mind racing. In that moment, everything changed. What about Clara? About the people who believed in hope? Questions rushed in like wildfire. Matthew's sister, the shadows, this devastating truth. Had they all been pawns in a game played for centuries? "Run!" Claire shouted. The darkness began to consume everything. Otto's heart raced. He had to get Clara out. He had to. But before any of it settled, the woman's eyes fixed on Otto, piercing through him like a blade. You, the choices you made, everything brought you here. Are you ready for the truth? Suddenly, the air crackled again, and Otto felt it. Undeniable dread. The choices he made, the life he had built, it all teetered on the edge, and as the glow faded, leaving only shadows and uncertainty, Otto's world twisted one more time. He felt the weight of their pasts hanging heavily, binding them together, yet setting them all up for a downfall. Were they truly ready to face the consequences? Would the secret Matthew carried upend them all? In the silence that followed, nothing felt certain anymore. Everything was in flux, sliding farther from understanding, leaving Otto desperate for answers that seemed impossible to grasp. Otto stood amidst the chaos, the radiant figure flickering before him. Matthew, or whatever he had become, was trapped in a storm of voices. Otto could feel the energy crackling in the air. The truth was unraveling, exposing everything they had buried beneath their lives. "Listen to me." Matthew's voice boom echoed through the gathering storm. "You have to trust me. This is my choice." The shadows howled around him, desperate to seize control. Otto felt heat rise in his chest, a mixture of fear and hope swelling within. "Matthew, wait." Claire's frantic voice cut through the banter. She stepped closer, determination shining in her eyes. "You aren't just fighting for yourself. You're fighting for all of us. We can't let the darkness win. Don't you see?" Matthew's eyes flickered with deep emotion. "I have to do this. I can't be afraid anymore." But as he proclaimed that truth, the fissure beneath his feet stretched wider, shadows clawing at the edges as they sought to consume everything. Otto's heart raced. "No, Matthew, don't!" In a heartbeat, the shimmering golden light pulsed, ridding the darkness of a tiny sliver. Matthew, renewed and illuminated, took a deep breath. "Together, we can defeat this." The crowd hushed, breath held tightly. Otto shouted, "Clara, on my count." He felt the spark of resolve ignite between them. 3, 2, 1, go! With that, they exploded forward, charging toward the light. Clara gripped Otto's hand, her presence grounding him. They surged through the chaos, uniting with Matthew's strength. The moment they passed through the glow, it felt like the world shifted. Light swallowed shadow, stirring warmth in their hearts as an unseen barrier crumbled. The dark figure screeched, clawing desperately at the fading remnants of strength. Matthew stood tall before them, casting away fear. "I refuse to let you control me," he roared, voice resonating with power. The shadows writhed, losing their grip on reality as they dissolved into nothingness. And then, with a shimmering burst, the air cleared. The fissure disappeared, leaving behind only light and clarity. As silence enveloped them, Otto staggered back, eyes wide. Did we win?" Matthew, breathing heavily but whole, shared a glance with his mother. "This is just the beginning. But we chose to fight together." The weight in Otto's chest began to lift. The crowd, still trembling, leaned into one another. A community awakened. "Everything I've done, everything we've done, leads to this moment," Matthew continued, determined and united. "No more running, no more secrets." In that unyielding clarity, hope blossomed in everyone's hearts. Whispers of change began to swirl, each voice echoing louder. Otto felt tears prick at his eyes, a wash of gratitude and adrenaline. "Thank you, Matthew, for everything." Matthew shrugged, a grin breaking through the tension. We did it. Together. As the crowd erupted in cheers, Clara pulled Otto in for a fierce hug. The warmth filled the space, drowning out past fears and fostering a new beginning. But there was still a lingering thought. What happens now? Otto wondered aloud, looking to Matthew for answers. We keep going, Matthew replied, eyes shining bright. There's a world waiting for us. We'll face it together. But first, he stopped, glancing back toward the horizon. We must ensure the shadows won't return. We need to be vigilant. With a final, united promise, they began to walk toward their new journey. Tensions easing as they faced the rising sun together, hearts bound by the choices they made. Otto took a deep breath. The challenges were far from over, but they'd face whatever came next as a family. And as they moved forward, a tantalizing whisper echoed in Otto's mind. What other secrets lay ahead? Now, before you go, I want you to do something real quick. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the upcoming exclusive stories that are going to blow your mind. Smash that like button now. It's a simple gesture that feeds the algorithm and keeps this community alive. And listen, flood the comments section right now with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. Let's get that buzz going. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to be part of this journey. Remember, only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel, and your actions make all the difference. Let's keep this momentum rolling.